Chapter 5, Kinetoplasta, Trypanosomes and their kin, Part 12, Leishmania braziliensis. Braziliensis, this now we're looking at what is referred to as a mucocutaneous Lyshmaniasis. Okay, cutaneous, skin, muca, the mucous membranes, the mouth, the sinuses, the eyes. Okay, it's going to be found from Central America down through South America. And in the different areas, it's going to have its own diseases or its own name for this infection. Espundia, or Uta. Now, the life cycle here is going to be similar to the more well-known Leishmanias, Leishmania donovi, Leishmania tropica. Okay. Promastigotes inoculated at the bite. Okay, small papule will develop somewhere around. Again, we're looking at some form of, biting insect. 1 to 4 weeks it's going to take, and then you're going to start to get an itchy, ulcerated vesicle somewhere on the face, the body, wherever. So unlike the previous two, Tropica and whatnot, that may or may not go from a papule to an ulcer, here it's pretty much going to have an ulceration. Okay, the lesion will get quite large, and it's going to take time for it to heal. Okay, look at that, 6 to 15 months is how long it could take for this wound to heal over, for the immune response to remove braziliensis, all of the trypanosomes, and for the inflammatory response to calm down. What you see is what are referred to as primary and secondary lesions. Primary lesion is going to be at the site of the bite, which will then resolve itself, like I said, 6 to 15 months. And then at a later time point, you're going to get a secondary lesion, which is going to be centered around the mouth, the sinuses, the eyes, hence the mucocutaneous. With the secondary lesion, you're going to have necrosis of the tissues, as you can see here. That mouth wound you see here on his upper jaw is the secondary mucocutaneous lesion due to braziliensis. The locals refer to this infection, this disease, as Espundia. Okay, this happened, took 2 years to get to this point, and this is 24 years after the initial lesion, after the initial bite. So this is a long-term chronic issue. And the problem is, not everybody who gets braziliensis, the primary, will get the secondary with the necrosis, the mucocutaneous. So that's the problem. Who gets it, who doesn't, and this time frame of years to decades later, that's a problem. Diagnosis here is going to be basically finding the LD bodies. Okay, doing a tissue scraping of the primary ulcer. There are skin tests available. They go through and do a scratch, kind of like if you've ever had a TB test. Same thing, looking to see if you've ever been exposed. If you've been exposed, you'll have antibodies. If you've been exposed and you had a lesion at some point in time and you remember it, that means there's a chance you're going to have a secondary lesion at some point in time, and they're going to have to start looking ahead for this. If it's just the primary lesion, the small ulcer, whether it's hand, body, torso, face, wherever, there's going to be topical ointments that will be used. If it's the development of the secondary, the mucocutaneous, then there's going to have to be extensive chemotherapy intervention. Now here, chemotherapy, okay, it's not the drugs for cancer, okay, that's an unscientific use of that term, okay. Chemotherapy is any chemical therapy. If you've ever taken an aspirin, if you've ever taken an Advil, an antibiotic, that is chemotherapy.